Hi everyone, it's Barbara Hayward here from the Old Girl Spiritual Stuff Facebook page and YouTube channel. As I've said in the first and second part, just at the moment, if I sound a little snuffly, we've got full of allergies at the moment. The picture behind you is real. That's where I live. And we've got pine trees here and acacia trees, and it's acacia pollinating season at the moment. So I do apologize. This is the third video that I've done of my own personal experiences. I'm actually reading it out of my book, Letters from Grandma, which you can only get from my website, which I'm sure you'll be able to get the link if you want to have a look and maybe purchase the book. They are just letters to my granddaughter that I wrote to her several years ago. And this actual letter is very different to every other letter that I've written. These are the experiences that my people in spirit gave me, the universe, whoever you like to call it, God, divine energy. These are the experiences that were for me only. And as I wrote in the first video, that these really are for my eyes only. There is no teachings here. There's no morals. There's no great words of wisdom. They're just gifts that the universe and my people gave me. So this is the third and the last. To believe in something and not to live it is dishonest. Mahatma Gandhi. From my time on the radio in New Plymouth, I would get to travel on request to different regions to work. On one such occasion, I was asked to go to a little settlement in the bottom of the national park in the middle of the North Island. This area was under the energy of the Mount Tongariro. I probably said that wrong. I do apologize. In this settlement, I would work out of the school room at the back of the Marae, which loosely means meeting house for the iwi. I was given permission to do this and went there a few times a year. Last video, I talked about the greenstone, the long, thin greenstone that was given to me. So this was several years after that, and it's to do with that particular greenstone. This particular visit, we were chatting about Māori spirituality, and from nowhere, and I do mean nowhere, my greenstone snapped in half. No kidding. It just snapped, and the bottom half fell of the greenstone fell into my lap. I wasn't touching it. It just snapped. We were stunned. I perhaps may have understood if I had been touching it or playing with it, but I was doing nothing. The group discussed what I should do next. I was told that when this happened, greenstones need to be buried in the area from where the stone came from. This honours and respects the whakapapa and the Māori customs. We all felt that the greenstone had a connection to the Taranaki area, but was not from the mountain. The problem then arose that I wouldn't be going back to that region for some months, so as I now lived in the opposite direction. As the gentleman of the house was one of the elders of the Marae, he suggested that I could go to their Marae the next day and bury it there. We spoke about some possible rituals I could do and who I needed to include in my prayers and who were the spirits guarding the Marae. The next morning I was very nervous. As a Pākehā, European person, I don't know a lot of the Māori customs, and so I have to be guided through and given permission as well. I really wanted and needed to do this correctly and with a great reverence. I was entering sacred land and performing a sacred ritual, something I had not done before. I drove up to the Marae, opened the gate and drove through, and could not believe what I saw. A beautiful rainbow was hovering over the buildings, leaning towards the huge mountain. Then I saw them. To the side of me were two horses. This may sound very made up, but it did actually happen. The two horses were standing side by side, both of them with their heads over the fence. One of the horses was completely brown and the other one was completely white. The brown horse turned its head to look at me and started to walk down to greet me. I quickly closed the gate and started to drive up to the parking area with the horse just standing idly by my side. I chose the area to bury the broken greenstone. As I looked around, I saw the horse was still standing there, apparently just watching me. I proceeded to do the prayers, the blessings, and the other rituals as instructed. Then I spent a moment in silence. The whole ceremony would have taken me about 10 minutes. As I turned around to go back to the car, I noticed the brown horse had moved back to the position it was in at the fence when I had arrived. To my surprise, as I started the car, the white horse turned to look at me and started to walk down beside the car. The horse stopped before I needed to get out of the car to open the gate. As I closed the gate, the white horse was walking back to join the other horse. I was once again astounded. What was the meaning of all this? I needed to quickly go back to my friend's house to ask their opinion of the horse's behaviour. In true Māori style, they laughed at me. I often get laughed at as I'm getting very used to it. They instantly saw the significance of the story. It was the Māori energy and the Māori side of me which greeted me onto the marae with the Māori spirit's blessings. And when I had finished, I was then escorted out of the Marae area by the Pākehā energy, and the Pākehā side of me was getting ready for my next journey. Now, I had no greenstone again. I was by now very used to wearing it around my neck, and it felt quite bare without it. It was interesting that I hadn't worn a necklace for maybe 45 plus years, and now I missed it. A footnote to this thread of stories: about 6 months later, I was asked to speak at a smaller spiritual centre in New Plymouth. Little did I know what the committee had planned for me. I was presented with a beautiful large greenstone that had been personally carved, and the braided cord was made especially for me. It was a really big heart, absolutely beautiful. It was presented to me for the 10 years that I had worked very hard and devotedly to the Taranaki area. They all felt I had achieved a very high level of respectability and had added an authenticity to the movement. This allowed so many other spiritual workers and people in the region to be able to work openly and proudly because the hard work I had done on behalf of spirit. I was completely humbled and honoured, and it still touches me today. I was told that this greenstone had the spirit of Mount Taranaki inside, and it would help my work around the world when I was ready. It was only recently that I had an urge to wear it again. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to commit to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. I just want to add a little bit to that story there with the Greenstone and the community that I worked with in that area. When I started work there in the early 1990s, I think it was about 1991. It wasn't taboo, but a lot of the spirituality and certainly clairvoyance, that sort of thing, wasn't as open as it is today. It wasn't hidden, but it certainly wasn't open. And there was a lot of ridicule, and certainly when I did spiritual work outside, like psychic fairs and things like that, there was certainly a lot of rebuking towards me personally that I had to deal with, and that did fade over time. And so I was very proud to be able to bring it into normality, because I am a normal person. You know, I had two teenage boys. I've got a husband. We had a two or three cats, and we had a three-legged dog. So, you know, did live a very normal life in a very unusual occupation, if you like. Now, this is a very short story. It isn't connected to the rest of the stories. This also happened when I was living in Auckland. Sorry, it happened when I was living in Brisbane, not Auckland. This is a very short story that I love remembering, and it always creates an inner smile. Den and I were living in Petrie in Brisbane. Our house had a beautiful backyard, railway sleepers holding the earth back from the entertaining area, and it was fully landscaped with a beautiful barbecue area. I read somewhere that feng shui says, if you don't know what the rooms were meant to be used for, what would you use them for? We had a lovely master bedroom with an ensuite at the front of the house, behind the garage, and a path that led down the side of the house to enter this room. I decided to have my office in that particular room and move our bedroom to the back of the house. The landscape garden was a pleasure to look at, and my clients would not have to come through the house to have their readings. I had told you earlier that I do not like curtains and definitely do not like neck curtains. So down came the curtains in this bedroom. I was able to see the moon, the stars, and wake up to the view of the garden. This was my little piece of paradise. You could say it didn't take much to make me happy, and you would be right. It was early October when the next simple event started to take place. One night I woke up with what I thought was the sound of a dog sniffing at the back door when we were in our bedroom, that led out onto the entertaining area. I sat up in bed and find I was right. Not only was there a German Shepherd sniffing at the fly-by screen door, the glass door was open as it was getting hot, the beginning of summer, and we had fly-by screens as well. All the doors had locks on them. But there were German soldiers climbing down the top part of the garden onto the concreted area. A soldier was holding onto the dogs and trying to pull them away from the door. There would have been perhaps 15 soldiers all up. Speaking in German, I was surprised and shocked, and I must say a little bit scared as I was watching all this unfold. What was even more intriguing was that I was able to understand what they were saying. They were out hunting for a couple of British pilots. Their plane had been shot at and were safe enough to safely landing on the ground. They were trying to escape. I knew I was awake because I could feel the beautiful cool breeze coming through the door. It took me a few moments to realize that they actually couldn't get into my room. My bedroom was not part of the area that had been searched. Or perhaps it was not part of the dimension that they were involved in. More to the point. This scene finally disappeared after perhaps 5 minutes. So let me tell you, my darling granddaughter, Grandma didn't get much sleep for the rest of the night. I didn't feel I needed to wake Granddad because I realized this was a spiritual experience and manifestation, and Granddad wasn't going to be able to see it anyway, and he might just get worried. This same vision occurred for a few weeks, maybe once or twice a week. By now I was used to it. However, I was still intrigued. Your daddy was coming to visit us for several days in November, and rightly or wrongly, I told him about what was happening around our bedroom. His bedroom was next to ours, with the same door arrangements leading onto the entertaining area. He was coming to the end of his stay with us, and he was getting a bit grumpy. I asked him what was wrong, and he replied that he wasn't sleeping well. He went on to ask me if I had seen the visitations of the soldiers whilst he was staying with us. I told him that I had one night, but wondered why he was interested. He exclaimed that he was trying to stay awake at night because he wanted to see them too, that seeing them would give us a great connection. He was trying to see what I could see. I explained that it was for my eyes only, that something in my energy allowed this type of event to happen. I explained that I was occasionally able to cross over into another space and time in the past. I felt sorry that he wasn't able to see my visions, as they were really interesting. Now maybe he could get a good night's sleep. Footnote to this story. This happened a few times later in different houses we lived in. The last time we lived in Palmerston North, we were by the river, and at night, regularly, I would be privy to the iwi meetings and gatherings that were being held several nights a week. Iwi is like tribe, your tribe link, Māori tribe link. This I didn't enjoy, as I was normally woken up around 2 a.m. in the morning. I had to be at work at 6 a.m. to do a hard day's work at the salami factory. Sometimes this spiritual stuff interferes with my sleep, and I can also get grumpy when I have broken sleep. That just doesn't seem to bother my spirit people, I write with a smile on my face. Not till we are completely lost or turned around do we begin to find ourselves. Henry David Thoreau. This last story is my favourite. I think it is because I never thought I would be so privileged nor blessed by spirit to have this happen to me. This is nothing to do with the mountain. This is a completely different story. Again, it was a few years later. I was visiting Tauranga, of course, during readings, and I had a strong urge to visit the ocean, to sit and contemplate some things that were happening in my life at the time. As I was driving, I thought I would visit a friend first and see if she wanted to come to the beach with me. Unfortunately, she had an appointment and was unable to go, but over coffee she asked me what it was about. I explained that I just had an urge to be near water to think some things through, and the ocean was the only place I knew. She told me that there was a fast-running river at the back of their property with some really huge boulders and a couple of small waterfalls. I was captivated by the sound of this, and I knew this would be amazing for contemplation. After showing me how to get there, my friend went to her appointment and I drove off to the spot. This particular place was well hidden from the road. But being an adventurous lady, I felt safe and decided to continue on my way to the river. The parking area was at the top of a steep path that led down to the water's edge. It was a beautiful day, the sun was out and the birds were singing, and nature was showing its glory. There was, in front of me, a stunning small waterfall, just as my friend had promised, and to my right there was a massive boulder, and beyond the boulder another waterfall. And this boulder was quite level at the top of it. I had sat there for possibly 20 minutes, giving my gratitude and my blessings to the universe, when a movement on the massive boulder caught my eye. When I first stepped down to this area, I noticed a large piece of bark on the boulder. So to see a movement frightened me a little. I began to rub my eyes, thinking that maybe I was once again seeing things. What I saw was a large goanna-like animal stretched out and sunning itself on the rock. The animal got up, stretched, and turned around, then lay down again. Absorbed by this sight, I began to watch it simply absorbing the sunshine. I was not doing a very good job of getting back to my meditation. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to get a closer look at this beautiful creature. I chose to go back up the path and down the steep bank to see it from a different direction. As I headed to up the path, the creature got up and started to move to the front of the rock. I reached a place where I thought it would be safe for me to walk down. Even though there was a large amount of undergrowth, I felt nervous but safe. As I took a step forward, the creature got on its forelegs, puffed its back up, and hissed at me. Really hissed. The animal looked so angry, and I felt so very frightened. I thought it was going to attack me. I was too scared to go any further, so I decided to turn around and go back down the path and sit where I had been before. I needed to sit quietly and find out what had just happened. As I got to the previous spot, the creature looked over to me, relaxed, did a circle around the boulder, and proceeded to lay down and go back to sunning itself in the warmth of the day. I calmed myself down and did some more working through my problems, kept my eye on this beautiful creature, and before my eyes turned back into the bark from one of the trees nearby. I couldn't believe it. What had just happened? I wasn't making it up, nor was I seeing things, because we had too much of an interaction for nearly 45 minutes for this to be false. But what was it I saw, and why had I seen it? I later phoned my friend to explain what had happened to me, and she was astounded. As a Māori lady, she knew the land and that waterway was a deep spiritual place. She heard from her elders that there was a taniwha in the river protecting the waters, but had never heard of anybody actually seeing it. She explained that a taniwha was a Māori spirit, a protective guardian of the waters. I was privileged to see what people around the area had known as part of their legends, but had never had the honour of seeing. Just got goosebumps again. It took me a long time to understand what was happening, but I didn't think I will ever know why I was blessed to see this taniwha. I believe wholeheartedly that the reason the creature became so angry when I began to go down the side of the bank was not to scare me, but to save me. I sensed that hidden under the undergrowth was a dangerous spot, that I may have broken a leg or something worse. Because other than my friend, nobody else knew I was there, and she couldn't have seen my car from her driveway for where the car park was. The beautiful creature was happy and content until the moment I had decided to change my position. I believed its agitation was for my protection. I was loved by the universe, and I saw something that was possibly unfathomable to a Pākehā. I was shown how my spirit people love and protect me at all times, and that they are always there and when I have a deep personal experience. My conscious mind doesn't always get the full significance of any of these experiences. I just know I've had them and felt deeply honored that I have been chosen by the universe. And now I'm just going to end the story as I ended in this chapter. With this, my darling granddaughter, I'm going to say thank you for letting me share these stories with you. Know that Grandma loves you, and I remain forever yours, Grandma. So thank you for allowing me to share my personal stories with you. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope that you've felt the energies of my stories come through and have touched you. There is no meaning to them. There is no lessons, learning, or wisdom. But thank you for gracing me the three videos, the 3-part videos, sharing those moments with you, the moments that will stay with me forever as part of my spiritual growth and my spiritual journey. Until next time, stay rooted in your light and don't forget to breathe.